I think you should lie to your partner more.
You should lie. You should not tell the truth.
Yep. And to that point, I think the truth is very limiting to connections in your relationship. I think the goal of being seen and the goal of trueness in its essence is the reason why 95% of people break up. Yeah.
Wow. I already see how I'm going to have a hard time with this topic, because I think I've always been of the mind. Well,
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Intellectual Podcast, where we're just putting a little bit of nuance to the polarizing conversations of the internet. I'm Jem.
And I'm Renee.
And we're your hosts for today, where we're doing something a little bit different. We want to open up a discussion around an idea that Renee knows nothing about.
I was going to say, I am completely left in the dark on this one, you guys. I am just here for the vibes. Yeah. I'm here to give raw, real reactions and my genuine off the dome thoughts.
Exactly. And I want it to be that way because I'm just so curious. We've never really had an in-depth discussion about this idea in particular. So I'm so curious as to how you would react to it.
Gotcha.
But that being said, this is a hot take. This entire conversation is low-key going to be a hot take. And the hot take is, I think it's a little paramount. It's a little important that people lie to their partners. Lie to their partners more than they do. I'm not going to qualify that. I'm just going to leave that as
Oh my God, no. This whole conversation, I thought we were qualifying it.
Well, I'm going to qualify it in the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Because usually if I said something, I would double back on it and be like,
gotcha.
Well, but I don't mean it like.
But this is what I mean. No,
like,
okay,
no.
no.
I think you should lie to your partner more.
You should lie. You should not tell the truth.
Yep. And to that point, I think the truth is very limiting to connections in your relationship. I think the goal of being seen and the goal of trueness in its essence is the reason why 95% of people break up. Yeah. Wow.
I already see how I'm going to have a hard time with this topic, because I think I've always been of the mind. Well, I'm a really hard I'm not good at lying. I'm not.
You're a bad liar.
I'm a bad liar. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I'm literally a bad liar. I'm not good at it.
Right.
And two, I've always kind of been of the mind of just radical honesty being an important aspect of a relationship.
Right.
So.
And I'm pretty sure damn near everyone would agree with you. I don't think there's anybody on the planet
who would be
that is trying to function healthy in a relationship would be what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
I think that's a pretty common take.
Yeah.
I feel like that's fine. But when you look at the statistics and you see the success in relationships, why are the numbers the way they are? If everyone understands how relationships function to some level, we all know the things not to do. We all intrinsically understand the things that work, but the numbers are not indicative of our understanding being implemented in these interactions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because people don't actually implement always, right?
And that's my point. We'll get there.
Because people, because people believe in radical honesty, but are not necessarily radically honest, right? In practice, it's much harder. So we understand the principles of a relationship. But
I raise you this.
Okay.
What is radical honesty to you specifically?
I think it is it's being just incredibly truthful, even when the truth hurts. Not even necessarily your partner, but also when it may be hurtful to yourself. So seeing yourself in a light, or admitting that you are a way or can behave in a way that you don't necessarily enjoy. So kind of digging into the dark corners with the cobwebs and all that kind of stuff, and just which takes practice, right? It's not something you can just kind of do. Sometimes honesty and truth is revealed over time. It's not always just readily apparent. But yeah.
I like that.
Thanks.
First of all. And I think that's the nature of what I'm talking about.
And why you should lie about the cobwebs? All of the cobwebs?
Damn near.
Wow.
Damn near. Because
What?
we'll get there. We'll get there. The point of my idea is exactly what you're saying. Like it's what's the word? It's like a thought experiment. Because I kind of conform to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I'm an honest person. I'm a very I have a lot of integrity.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Integrity, I think, is one of the most important things for a man to exist in the world. If you don't have integrity, what do you have? But I think that kind of tends to fall apart within relationships. So this is a thought experiment that was inspired by a conversation. One of the most beautiful conversations I think I have ever witnessed.
Okay.
It's called a conversation.
Oh, wow.
That's how you know the conversation.
Damn,
right.
That's a good ass conversation.
Right.
When all you had to label it.
You know that it's good. And it's by, I would argue, the most profound thought leaders of the civil rights movement and the Black experience post-civil rights.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people, author, civil rights activist, James Baldwin. Have you heard of him?
Yes.
James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni.
Okay.
And they had a conversation in 1971.
Wow. This is an old conversation. All right.
And they were going back and forth about the state of affairs that were going on. The interaction between men and women, black men and women, post the civil rights movement. And just like, if you listen to this conversation, they are so intelligent. And listening to two intelligent people speak to each other, which I hope you guys
satisfying.
maybe have this effect when you listen to our podcast.
Maybe a little bit.
Please. Like, I hope that's the effect, but it's like, it might be a little hard to like keep up with, but everything that they're saying is like so intentional and so profound. It's a beautiful thing to experience.
Right.
And they were kind of fighting. Because
they're at odds.
A little bit because James Baldwin was coming from the perspective of really like empathizing and understanding the Black experience as a Black man.
Right.
And what is required from a Black man to exist in America in the 1970s, right?
Right.
And how to connect with a Black woman. And Nikki Giovanni, and it's so cool because like you really get both stances, because you have the old guard Black man explaining the situation how it is, and the new frontier Black woman explaining how things can be. And it's like
really cool merging of generations, like thoughts.
Exactly. And it's like rationality and understanding versus like hope and implementation. Right. And I thought it was like so beautiful because James Baldwin was on the side of the human experience and the human condition. And I'll give like context of the entire conversation, things that I pulled out of it.
Right.
But he was really on the side of like the human experience and the human condition. And Nikki Giovanni, she was like rational and practical, and your reality can be this way. Right. But at the same time, this is what needs to happen if we are going to create something together, if we are going to connect on a meaningful level. Right. These are the things that need to happen. So in their conversation, they come to a head, and James Baldwin says,
"If I love you, I can't lie to you."
Oh.
Right.
That's a good one.
And immediately, wasting no time, Nikki Giovanni retorts,
"Of course you can lie to me. Because what the hell do I care about the truth? I care if you're there. And why are you going to be truthful with me when you lie to everybody else? Because I love you. I get least of you. I get the very minimum. And I'm saying, fake it with me. Is that too much of the Black woman to ask of the Black man?"
You have to lie to me. If we're going to make this work, you have to lie to me.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Interesting,
I'm
right?
Starting to see the angle that you're going to be coming at this with. I'm starting to see it unfurl.
I knew it. If I said this to you, pick it up immediately, and it wouldn't be as fun. It wouldn't be as fun. So I was like, no, you're too damn smart. I can't show this to you. But okay, let's take a step back and let's kind of go over their points a little bit, because again, really good stuff about the interactions that men and black women had, especially in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Your post wars, your post civil rights, you have the legacy of the 1950s and how black men were interacting with their wives, and they discuss how their parents interacted with these ideas, right, in a society that's, for lack of a better phrase, emasculating the black man in every capacity. You can't work, or if you do work, you aren't respected, you aren't paid well.
Yeah.
You're less than in every capacity,
Right.
but still expected under the systems and structures of American society to embody what it means to be a man in this society. But you're not a man in this society. So trying to grapple with those two ideas is so, it's just, it's hard. It's you, what's the word? You feel incapable, impossible. He describes it as a very inhumane condition.
Right.
You're not treated like a man, and you're expected to be a man.
Right.
So how can you be a man?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And when
it's impossible.
when you're met with such a extreme of things you can't control, and your experience is just so what's the word? It's so inescapable. It's so I'm blanking on this word. I'm just gonna make it simple. If it's so difficult and you can't correct it, the only recourse that you have as a man is rage and anger.
Right.
You're just mad at your situation.
Yeah.
You're so frustrated because you can't do anything about it. And Baldwin, he was empathizing with the black man, right? He understood it because humans are emotional. Humans are irrational. You have to experience and feel things even if they don't necessarily make sense. And he says the black man is forbidden by definition, since he is a black man, to assume the roles and the burdens and the duties and the joys of being a man. And this erodes the man's sexuality. And when you erode the sexuality of a man, you destroy his possibility to love anyone. And what that looks like is when he comes home and he works all day. He has 9 kids that he can't feed. And he wants to bring home like the steak or the bacon or whatever thing. And he can't do that. He'll opt just not to come. Or if he does come, he's so angry. He's mistreating his wife, mistreating his children, creating a unsafe environment, creating a lot of fear in that environment.
Right.
And the black woman has to experience that. And Nikki Giovanni was like, I understand that. Even though I wasn't as poor as James Baldwin, I understand that because my father wasn't respected outside. He was called every name in the book. And he came home and he brutalized my mom. And she put up with that because that's just the way things were. But she couldn't understand it. She couldn't understand how, as a father, as a man, as someone that you say that you love, that you come home after being brutalized outside, you come and bring that brutality back to your home.
Oof.
And James Baldwin was talking about how essentially it's like survival mode. You don't you're not able to experience like is it Maslow? It's not Maslow. What's the hierarchy of needs?
Oh, frick. Starts with a P? I know exactly what you're talking about, though. I completely forget the name.
Maslow.
Maslow. Same thing.
Same shit, low-key.
Bada bing, bada boom. All right.
Yes, indeed. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you can't even get the bottom, there's no way you're going to be able to actualize and feel and connect and like the things that are required to have a family and bring love and experiences to that environment. You can't even think about accessing that because you're worried about keeping rent, keeping food, just the basic human needs. It's hard to exist within that.
And there's no sense of like control over those variables either, right?
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Control. Out of your control.
Yeah.
But Giovanni goes down a different path because in her inability to understand how you are bringing violence into the house because you are so beaten down. It creates, like I was saying before, in those times. So now she has a distaste for the white people.
Right.
And a fear of black men.
Right. Right.
And how can I be with you if I'm afraid of you?
Right.
Right? How can you come together in that environment? You feeling like you needing to be respected and feel like a man is so arbitrary. Like what I can do for you in that is so arbitrary and so meaningless.
Yeah.
If the internal world and your internal ideation of what it means to be a man doesn't change.
Right. Right.
And she's telling him, like you were saying in the Barbie episode, which I know because I just edited it.
Great episode.
I know. Super good episode.
Yeah.
And honestly, that conversation is almost like this conversation.
Yeah.
It's basically everything that I was saying is what he was saying. Everything you were saying is what she was saying.
Wait, that's
insane.
That's really
it's
funny.
Like so crazy.
Yeah.
Because just like you were saying in that episode, you as a man, you're required to provide and protect. Very material, very tangible.
Right.
It's very black and white. You either are doing these things or you're not. And she was like, there are more things that are required when you are trying to create a relationship. And relationships are the one thing in this time period that I understand.
Right.
That we can control. We have complete control over how we're interacting with each other.
Right.
We can't control the laws of the country. We can't control the mindset of these people.
If the problem is that we feel like we have such a lack of control and this area, our home, our internal world is the one thing that we can control, yet you are allowing it to seep into and impact that internal world as well. I'm relating.
Yep. Yep. See?
But I understand how that's hard as well, right? Like
of
you
course.
were saying.
And that's like what Baldwin was saying.
The pressure cooker of like, it's not like we're dealing with like, just one neighbor who's like a racist fuck. Right, exactly.
No,
like we're not dealing with one racist fuck. We're dealing with a system, like a government of racist fucks.
And you're kind of hopeless in that.
Exactly.
Like, you can't see a future beyond that.
Right.
So you feel like there's no point even trying.
Right.
And she was like, whether you feel that way or not, whether you can see a future or not, a future is coming. And you have to envision it.
Right.
You as a man, you want to bring what they were describing, the material thing that they were describing was the crib.
Yeah.
So you want to bring the crib home for the baby.
Yeah.
But you're never going to bring the crib home. But you can bring yourself home.
Yeah.
And by the man bringing himself home, she was talking about being the humanness, bringing the connection.
Yes.
Not necessarily how we talk about it today, like you need to be vulnerable and be in touch with your emotions and all this stuff. But like there's a huge difference between bringing home rage and anger and bringing home support, understanding, and connection.
Right.
And being just real with the situation. She was like, we understand the situation, fam.
Like,
we
we're
understand the
experiencing this too,
situation.
right?
I see what it's like for you guys.
Yeah.
As a black woman,
Yeah.
I see what it's like and how hard it is. So you don't have to bring home what we see in the commercials that these white people are doing. We see the situation. We understand the situation.
Right.
We're here willing to work with you.
Right.
If you weren't here, the babies will be fed. The cribs will be created.
Yeah.
Like the material.
All those things will still
the rent will be paid.
Be provided.
Exactly.
Whether you're here or not.
Whether you're here or not.
Yeah.
But if you are here, you have to come and be a human being.
Right.
And forget all that stuff on the outside. Forget about it. And when you're in here, no, this is a different space. And you are respected and you are loved.
Right.
And you are a man.
Yeah.
Because what it means to be a man is what you can input as a man and not what you can provide as a man.
Right. That's powerful.
And I don't know, it really moved me. It really moved me. I don't know if this was because of the whole like the whole exploration of like masculinity and the whole idea of what it means to be a man, especially as a black man in society where it's like 1,000 times harder to do anything.
Right.
I don't know what it was about that, but that context with her lie to me line really started putting things into perspective for me.
Planted a seed for you. Planted a seed of thought.
Because like I said, we can envision the future, and the future is coming whether we understand what it's going to be or not.
Right.
She was talking about her father. She grew up. She became a 28-year-old.
Yeah.
The future came.
Right. Right.
So I don't know what her father was envisioning at the time,
Right.
but she grew up. And everyone's always going to grow up.
Yeah.
The world can explode right now.
Yeah.
Right? We're in the middle of a freaking eclipse.
Right. No, yeah, literally today while we're recording.
Today is the freaking eclipse, and the gravitational forces that are exerted on total eclipses from the moon and the sun combine, and they do things to the planet.
Yeah.
Things that are dangerous for our survival.
Right. Right.
Earthquakes everywhere, all this stuff, crazy stuff. Everyone's
Yeah.
catastrophizing. I don't know. That's what I stay away from the internet during these times because it's not useful. It's not helpful.
I always just assumed the total solar eclipse today was like good.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm
cool.
like, I want it to be a good omen, so that's what it's going to be.
I think eclipses are so beautiful. I saw a
think they're
picture the other day
fun.
of like total eclipses and the way that the corona of the sun appears behind. It's like the prettiest thing
Stunning.
ever.
Yeah.
And you finally see like those little baby drawings that you made with the sun, little spikes around the sun.
Right.
Like you find like, oh, that's
Like,
why.
that's
But
where
like
it's come
the sun
from.
actually has that. It's just too
Yeah.
bright for us to see it.
Right.
Most times. And they're working on it instantly. We get hit by an asteroid.
Right.
Crazy volcanoes can explode. Our civilization is so delicate.
Yeah.
It's so easy to destroy
Right.
at the drop of a hat. But if it doesn't,
Yeah.
then what you do now is important because it's going to have an effect on what's coming. What's coming is going to come unless it doesn't.
Totally.
But you don't know if it's going to come or not. So you have to
Right.
assume that it is.
Right.
So you have to envision that and act accordingly.
Right. And it seems like too what she is saying is that essentially like this behavior that like Black men are like engaging in, like though in the short term it may feel good because they have to release that energy.
Right.
Like I said, it's a pressure cooker that they are under, especially at that time, right?
If anything, it's so much more understanding.
So much
back
more,
then.
yeah, so much more. Weird to say, understand why you beat your wife back then. Obviously, there's context, right? Everyone knows.
That's so true.
Right? Like, it's kind of funny how we're saying that, but I think how James Baldwin put it was like very like putting us into the mind of the Black man, especially at that time. But that short-term relief that is selfish and very individualistic, it over time is eroding at the overall Black community.
Right.
Right.
Because then you have a kid that grows up angry at his father.
Right.
And they were talking about how you're told you're a nigga.
Right.
And as a boy, you don't have any understanding of what that is. So you see your father,
Right.
the superhero of a human being to you that's supposed to be your protector, your everything that you are.
Right.
And he's treating you so aggressively, so crazily. And then you internalize that and now you're angry and you're like,
Right.
oh, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
Someone who treats me this way.
Yeah.
And you grew up internalizing that, believing that you are that too.
Right.
And you
Right.
act that way.
Yeah.
Perpetuating the cycle. And it's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing.
I mean, we've already seen the effects of a lot of that today in the Black community too. So
Yeah.
we are now in that future that she was talking about as well, and seeing the negative side effects of that, what that did.
And again, not saying that release wasn't required, not saying that the
Totally.
rage wasn't justified,
Totally.
but we know how to make a relationship work. Being your wife, everyone can understand.
Yeah.
That is not a way to have a good relationship.
I would not recommend.
Yeah.
No.
Everyone gets that. But in this pursuit of ego and validation, we forget that we have to become besides ourselves.
Right.
And we have to become something different for the relationship and become what is necessary to connect with people, to people that we say we love.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If I love you, I can't lie to you. If I love you, you're the person that validates me.
Yeah.
If I love you and you love me, then I can be the truest version of myself for you.
Right.
But why is the truest version of yourself always the weakest version of yourself?
Right.
You can persist in human interaction for lifetime.
Yeah.
Friendships, last lifetimes. Your coworkers love you.
Right.
And you come home and you give your partner the worst version of yourself because I feel like I can't and I shouldn't have to perform for you. You are my partner. I love you. You love me. You accept me at my worst, for better or for worse, through sickness and in health, all that stuff, right? It's ingrained into our romantic ideal.
Right.
That compulsive need to be seen, you know?
Yeah.
And what Giovanni was saying is that that's low-key bullshit. That's low-key bullshit.
Yeah.
Because as the person who loves you, I have to spend the most time with you.
Yeah.
As a person who loves you, I require more of you than what everyone else requires of you.
Yeah.
And I am willing and I'm committed to give you the experience that you can be given.
Right.
I'm willing to create a life with you. And you are over here treating me like shit because you're so exhausted from being fake for the entire world. No, pretend with me too.
Yeah.
Create that experience with me as well.
Right.
So I can be wrapped up into the romantic idea of what it is to be with a person. And sure, it's not going to be pretty all the time.
Right.
It's not going to be
every
beautiful
single day.
all the time.
Right.
But over time, you see that all the time. That's the pattern.
Right.
That's the pattern. You're fake at first.
Yeah.
No one knows the trueness.
Fake ass bitch. I'm just kidding.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
I just had to sprinkle that in there.
For sure. You heard it here first, folks. God damn. You're so fake. You laugh so hard at their jokes.
Right.
You think everything they do is perfect.
Right.
And they're showing you the best version of them. So they're putting their best foot forward. And look at the honeymoon stage of relationships.
Yeah.
The most fun, the most joyful, the most invigorating, the most in line with the romantic ideal and the human experience. 12 years later, 2 kids later,
Right.
you come home, hey babe, not even a kiss. Straight to the dinner table. Where's my foot? Yeah, you know, shit like that. Like no hug, no kiss. Don't even get up off the couch.
Yeah.
To say hi to you.
Yeah.
No care, no concern, no romance, no affection. You just habituated to an individual.
Right.
And you get used to it because you know I love you. I'm with you. I spent 12 years of my life with you. I don't have to perform anymore. I just get to be who I am and exist as I am without the effort that is required.
Yeah. But
I think it's a limitation.
Yeah. I mean, like you were saying though, that usually for the most part is like the worst version of yourself, the weakest version of yourself, like the most depleted version of yourself that you're giving. You're like, oh, well, this is just me. I think and obviously I haven't ever been married for 12 years, but I think what you find in those moments of when I'm kind of going on a little bit of a tangent of like as a partner in a relationship, and I don't know how true this is, but I think it holds pretty true, that when that initial effort to put in that energy to like show up and come home and like be a positive energy, come in with like, oh, lots of love for your partner or just like attention, or let's do something, like let's have like a fun night or like fun banter conversation, whatever. Putting in that effort to do that, right? Because like you said, you come home and like you're tired, you're exhausted, you had to put on a face all day. Like I work in customer service. I literally 40 hours a week. I'm like, hi, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. But what you find is like, that they are your partner, and in your example, they've been your partner for several years, a decade more. And what you find, it will be different from those people who on the outside world you're giving all this energy to, and you're putting on your best self, is that your partner knows you and loves you, and so that energy that you're going to be getting back is not going to be so like soul sucking. It's going to be actually become a lot more energizing.
That's so
because
true.
That's your person.
Oh
right?
my God, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. So like once you get over that hump of like, oh my God, okay, I'm home. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. It's because you've been putting out into just a bunch of random people, right? Doing your thing. But that's your partner for a reason, right? They have energized you. That's why you're with them. That's why you love them. And so you do find that it's not as tiring as you may think it is. It's just kind of lazy thinking.
Yeah.
You
If you associate it with the energy
Yes.
that you are putting out with these people that don't love you,
Right.
it will be draining,
No,
right?
1000%.
Because you were drained all day. That's why you come home tired.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you come home tired.
Right.
But like I said, I freaking love that you freaking said that, because I didn't even think about that
Yeah.
when I was thinking of this idea.
Hell
but
yeah.
it's so freaking true, because the reciprocal energy you get expressed to you when you bring that energy to the situation is just expand. That's what relationships are for.
Right. That's why you married the person, right?
Because they like things that you experience, the good news that you experience, you told the people that you love.
Right.
It's just hyped up
Right.
even more so. Now you're energized because you gave energy.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
you created an environment that is so much more conducive to
Right.
what we're trying to achieve
Exactly.
in these interactions.
I agree.
Absolutely. If anyone's deserving of the best version of yourself, in spite of yourself, it's your partner who is committed to you.
Yeah.
And instead of leading with the worst parts of your inner child, right? The brattiness, the entitledness, the neediness, all that shit.
Right.
Because sometimes, again, I'm not saying that you don't have emotions. I don't say that you don't need these things sometimes. Sometimes
Right.
you need to be baby. It's okay.
Right.
It's okay. I'm not saying to not be baby.
Right.
'Cause I like being baby too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just a baby. You are. Me too. I get it. Sometimes it's okay not to
Right.
give.
Right.
You know,
Totally.
sometimes you just need to give nothing.
Yeah.
It's giving nothing.
Yeah, it's giving nothing. 1000%.
And that's okay. But to go in it all the time
Yes.
with such radical honesty,
Right.
whether it's hard, whether it's difficult to hear or not, to not season your truths with the quips and the associations that isn't reflective of the trueness of your reality.
Right. Right.
I think it's a little unfair to the person that you claim to love.
Because they're not the person that's draining you.
Exactly.
Right. Like you're
Exactly.
bringing.
Sometimes they are.
Yeah. Look, I wasn't gonna say that.
Hey, sometimes
Right.
they
Sometimes
did it.
it is them.
Sometimes they did it. But even in that, it's even more important.
Right.
It's even more important because you can't take out every time you're upset with the person that you love out in the worst spot. It's like, oh, so she pissed you off, now you're throwing her against the wall, or he pissed you off, now you're hitting with a pan. Like, no, what?
No.
That's crazy.
Very unhealthy, toxic.
That's
You might
crazy.
say.
And I think that we piece together our truths retroactively, and our stories, the narratives that we tell ourselves, don't inform our experience. It's always we justify things after the fact,
Totally.
and that might be true. That might be incorrect, but that's just, I think that's the case, and I strongly co-sign to that. Prove me wrong if you want to. I don't know, but I do not think that our situations impact our stories. I think that our stories our situations are a byproduct of our stories
That we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like what's happening is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Even in that moment, it's kind of irrelevant. You never remember things as they are. You remember things in line with the narrative you tell yourself about the situation that it is.
Totally. Yeah.
So your truth can change. Your truth is relative.
Right.
So why is your truth so important to the situation when it's just a narrative? It's just a narrative. You can be as honest as you want and have a bad experience, and this experience will be negative. You can have a bad experience and the story could be a good one, and you'll have a good experience.
Right.
Why do we care so much about the realness, the trueness of the experience when it does not impact the situation? Why do we need so much to not season our words, to say things so brutally honestly, to cut deep so that they can experience and feel our pain?
Right.
When you could have said the exact same thing
Different context.
and got the exact same result.
Yeah.
Or even better result, because you're not cutting these people down.
Right. Right.
If you just say that a little nicer, take your feeling, absorb it, communicate what you're feeling in a way that they can receive it.
Right.
Not with the anger and the venom that comes with the emotions.
Right. Right.
So cobwebs the reasons why you are the way that you are, the trueness of your reality, the narrative and the stories that you tell yourself.
Yeah.
They're cool. They're you. They're very much you.
Yeah.
And they're very much irrelevant. I think it's better and it makes more sense to just keep that shit to yourself, low-key. Your partner doesn't need to know everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
They don't. There's times to
there's a time
to reveal.
Time and a place.
There's times to reveal. You can get like we're searching, we're curious. We want to know you.
Totally.
We want to know. Your partner wants to know you.
Totally.
But to give them all your baggage with no bow on top.
Right.
To give me the shit and not wrap it in a present. Nah, I don't want that.
Is that just like would that just be like trauma dumping then in that scenario, or
it could be. That's like the overarching term, but I think it looks different in different scenarios because like we think trauma dumping is sitting down and just unloading on a person.
Right.
But trauma dumping doesn't necessarily always have to look like that.
Right.
Trauma dumping is exhibiting a certain set of behaviors and explaining it away.
Yeah.
Because you have an experience in your reality, like, oh, I was abused as a child. So I always have like these most aggressive examples.
These are really aggressive examples.
I was about to say, like I was abused as a child, so like I feel uncomfortable having sex with you. It's like, okay, that's the worst example I could probably use for that.
You could have actually, I grew up religious, so I have a hard time having sex with you. That would have been a good example to use. I feel like religion's like a very common like thing that people like assign meaning to.
Okay, sure.
You know?
I will go with that. So it's like your sex life is boring and vanilla and you want more excitement. You've done the same thing 17 times in a row and they don't want to change because it's like, oh, like I'm uncomfortable because I grew up religious. I can't like I don't want to see you as a sexual object, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. And you're like, nah, see me as a sexual object. You're not giving. You're not lying in that situation. You're being so honest and true. I can't do this thing because of whatever reason, and it's not a wrong reason. It can be completely justified. You're showing them the trueness of who you are, but you're robbing the creation of an experience that you guys are creating together because you want to be so honest.
Right.
Like, no, just in that moment, treat her like a sexual object. She will be
do
the
damn
object.
thing. She asked you to.
She will in that moment she'll be a sexual object for you. And then when that moment is done, she is no longer a sexual object, and both of those things are true.
Right. I wonder if it has something to do with because I found in my life that I've done this before where you kind of over assign meaning to these things in your life. So much so to the point where you're kind of using it as a way to like explain a behavior or to almost like not move forward or not grow.
Right.
So in this example, maybe more sexual exploration, you're using that as a kind of like a fearful boundary from allowing you to like explore. You're like, oh, well, I grew up religious, so like that's why I do these things and like blah blah blah. And it's like, but like, is that really? Maybe it was a truth at one point. But I think, as you had said before, truths are evolving. They're ever changing. They are not solid and like grounding, right? Like truths can change, and so sometimes I think people like mistake that, okay, well, you came to this truth a couple years ago. Well, that truth may not necessarily be the truth now.
How relevant is that truth still today?
Exactly.
And the issue is that what you're touching on is that these stories they make up our identity.
Totally.
And I found for myself, and this is why I am so willing and so flexible in the stories I tell myself, because I separated the narrative from my existence.
Totally.
My essence is not attached to the story, so now the stories can change and suit me
right
as they suit me.
As you evolve,
And Of course, it's just human nature to explain your existence with
Totally.
meaning and stories
Totally.
because you can't completely separate yourself from the stories you tell yourself.
Right.
I am a black man. That's part of my identity.
Right.
I am a Californian. That's part of my identity. I have the parents that I have. That's part of my identity.
Right.
And in those classifications, there's a bunch of stories, sure. But when you become so attached to them that the stories are now truths, they're facts.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you forget that you can rewrite the story. I have the parents that I have. It made me this way, but the parents that I have can also make me that way.
Right.
And
Right.
I can rewrite the narrative to suit whichever way I want to go.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you're limiting yourself.
Right.
And if you need people to conform to that, you're missing the point.
Right.
Because, like we always say, relationships, my path, your path, the relationship path.
Right. Right.
And that relationship path is a story that you're writing together. And that story is 100% fiction.
Yeah.
The success of the story cannot be reliant on the trueness of your separate experiences.
Yeah.
You have to create a new experience together.
Totally.
Otherwise, you're not going to have a productive relationship.
Right.
So
Right.
freaking lie to me. Freaking lie to me. If it's not detrimental, if it's something that you can put up with,
Yeah.
lie to me. Don't give me everything all the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
Pretend a little bit. Fall into this
Yeah.
experience with me a little bit more.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to, I said something crazy. It doesn't always have to be corrected right then because you are a person that needs this type of interaction and needs to be communicated in this manner.
Totally.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Things don't have to be perfect for it to feel good.
Right.
Things don't have to be perfect for it to be real. So create the narrative together.
Yeah.
And see how your relationship changes. Instead of trying to force feed people the essence of who you are.
This is my truth.
Right.
This is my
Right.
All right.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, and I definitely feel, and you will obviously relate to this as a fellow overthinker, that like I will have moments where I'm like, God damn, I just need to stop like imbuing meaning into everything. Like it just doesn't have to be like a situation where like, or even like moments where like maybe something hurt my feelings or like I was triggered by something or whatever. And I don't need to like internalize that so much every time just because 5 years ago my dad yelled at me and
you know?
like, you know what I mean?
You know? Like, get over it, God.
Like sometimes it's okay to just like allow things to just be, you know?
I agree.
And it can be hard for me personally to do often. I find actually not as hard as I get older. Honestly, I'm like so way more into like not thinking as much.
Yeah.
I want to think less, low key.
Yes. I agree with that. As a person 4 years your senior.
Yes.
The older I get, the more I encroach 30. I'm like, low key, this shit's not that deep.
Right. No, to everything.
Low key, this shit does not matter. Like for sure. For sure.
Right.
Whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens, happens. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal. Why do we take things
And it's
so
like not
seriously?
even like a dismissive way. It's not even like you're not dismissing like yourself, like your emotions or whatever. It's just like I don't need to harbor that.
Yeah.
I don't need to.
I don't need to be hung up on this.
Exactly.
I don't.
I don't.
I just don't.
Yeah. No, very, very true. Yeah. Okay. So I guess when you're saying like lie to your partner, it's less so in like they ask you a question and you tell them a lie.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Which
They're like, where were you last night?
At the store.
Right,
Right. No, like, and that was the clarification I was going to say at the beginning.
Okay.
And I was like, no, I got to leave it to the end.
No, you definitely 100% should.
Because it's not the freaking like how much money do you have? I have $1 million bucks.
Right. Like the who the fuck did you marry guy?
Right. That's a good example. Holy shit.
We are not talking about that kind of lying.
We are not talking about.
We are not talking
a
about
complete
Legion, y'all. We are not
fabrication
talking
of your experience. We're not talking
Guy,
about pretending.
He was manifesting.
No.
Stop.
No, he was impersonating his twin. That's what he was doing. Sir?
God, wild.
We're not talking. Oh man, that's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about. Holy shit.
Oh
no.
my, holy shit.
No.
Oh my god.
Because like I said, integrity is important.
Yes.
Integrity is important.
1000%.
But being 100% real all the time, living your truth is less important to the relationship than cultivating the connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have to bring what's outside inside. And sometimes you don't have to let the differences between you create such an irrevocable chasm that you can't move forward.
Totally.
Because it can bother you and you can move forward. Many times I had to fight with people and I was arguing and they were pissing me off.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and this is the thing, right? When you date women that are younger than you, it's not a respect thing. It's an information thing. I just know what I know to be factual information.
Sure.
And y'all, and I've been told this so many times, y'all just fighting it, not because it's untrue.
Right.
Not because it's untrue. It's because you don't want to accept it from the person who's saying it in the moment.
Well, and your delivery, like not that you have bad delivery, you just speak with such confidence,
authority,
that like can be hard to listen to,
which is fine. Which is fine. Like I get all that.
Right.
I get all that. But instead of hammering it in and understanding, or like forcing you to need to know and understand that I am correct, being right in that moment.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not going to say that you're right in that moment. I'm not going to relinquish my correctness.
Right.
But I will not force it down your throat.
Totally.
I can still be happy with you.
Yeah.
And irritated with you at the same time.
Yeah, two things can be true.
I can laugh with you and we can go out and go to dinner and experience all these things.
Yes.
And I can still need to say what I have to say. I can still need you to understand what needs to be understood.
Right. No, that is so essential for a relationship. 1000%.
Which is why you're always confused as why aren't you dating these girls, right? How can you spend so much time with these people and not want them to be your girlfriend?
Yes,
it's because,
I'm always confused by that.
Yeah, that's in essence kind of the same thing, right? I can participate in the situation and understand these things need to be fixed and talked about and discussed before we make the next progression to our interaction.
Right.
I don't think they have to inform each other, but we can't move forward until the things that need to be discussed are discussed. And most people can't see that as a discussion to be had. They see it as an action that needs to be taken. And that action is, well, you're not serious enough. I'm gone. I'm like, no, I was as serious as I needed to be.
Right.
Maybe even too serious.
One might say. Of course
indeed.
You would say that.
Oh, I wouldn't I? But yeah. That's my little soapbox moment. That's all I have to say about it.
That was a good soapbox moment. I enjoyed that thoroughly. And it was a little sprinkle in of some history, a history lesson.
We were just talking about how we'd never talk about the black experience.
We were like, never talk about the black experience. And here we are, literally the next time we sit down to record.
Kind of an
talking
accident.
about the black experience.
But maybe subconsciously on purpose.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, but this is a conversation that you've been wanting to have for quite some time, though. So
yeah, man.
I will give you that.
Truly, because the clip from the video, I saw it as a short first.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like that.
Right.
So then I had to contextualize, like, what are they actually talking about?
What are they saying?
I'm not going to freaking, like, read into what the fuck they're saying. It's like, just like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about?
From a one clip,
Yeah, so I listened to the entire thing, and then I realized they were talking about black and women interacting.
Yeah.
In the 1970s. I was like,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah,
that's deep. I like that.
No,
and even more true and relevant even then. Like, yeah, don't bring me your bullshit.
Right. No, I definitely think it's an important part of like just like to bring to the discussion about like how to operate in relationships, because that's not necessarily something that people. They're like, well, what makes like a good like relationship? What makes a solid, long-lasting relationship? And people definitely say, I show up for my partner. Like we make sure we go out on dates and we do things, and I compliment her, and I give him a blowjob, and like there's you preach, word, yep, get the blowjobs, guys.
I've been talking to too many women these days that just do not like giving head, and I'm like, like I'm not gonna shame you for that.
Right.
Preferences are preferences,
totally.
But like. Personally, that shit should never come out of anybody's mouth on both sides. On both sides,
I like It's work. It's
Nigga,
like,
sex is work.
I,
What the fuck do you mean? What the fuck do you mean? What the fuck
I'm
do
not
you
gonna get into it.
mean?
I'm not that way. I'm. Oh my, I don't even know like how to transition back. I did not even like completely make my point that I was trying to make because we just went on a conversation about blowjobs for how many minutes?
I don't even know.
I don't even know.
This one doesn't like have a time thing. It just has a bunch of numbers. I can't tell.
Got you. Okay. Well, for everyone else to know, I had to listen back to figure out what my point was, and it was a good point. It was a really great point. Essentially, what I was saying, because what we were talking about, kind of in our like conclusion of this conversation of like lying to your partner and like what you meant by that, what that looks like, and kind of the way that you're phrasing it of essentially compartmentalizing to some degree. Two things can be true at once. You don't really learn until you're kind of in a relationship, a serious relationship, that like, yeah, like you can be angry at your partner or upset with maybe an aspect of something that's going on, but it is so incredibly important to also maintain some, like, there has to be a homeostasis that the relationship also remains at, and that is there is a certain level of love and care and respect, appreciation, stability, all those things. It has to be maintained regardless of the shit that you are going through in your relationship.
Yeah, that's
right.
I'm really glad we went back, because if you did not say that would have sucked.
Been
that's so good.
Because that was good.
That's so good.
There was there's this example. I forget where I listened to it or read it. I can't remember. Where this couple, basically this woman realized that her husband was going to divorce her essentially because essentially they've been married for several decades, and he would always refill her. She had a favorite cereal that she absolutely loved, and he would always refill it. She never had to ask him. It would get low, and the next day she would show up and see it, and it was refilled. Every single time, without fail. He always kept,
my heart.
yeah, because you know where it's leading. And one day the cereal ran out and it was never refilled. And she ended up having to go refill it, et cetera, et cetera. And that was a moment where she realized that he was, yeah, she was like,
fucking over.
She was crying in that pantry. You know,
Jesus
she was.
Christ.
But it's
That's
wild,
so
right? How
rough.
like such a small act, right, meant so much, because that was a part of like the homeostasis that the relationship stayed at. I will still care for you in these ways. These are the things I will still do for you regardless of what we're going through, regardless of how I'm feeling, how you're feeling, et cetera, et cetera. But the moment that he stopped doing that, it was a sign to her that he was, truly checked out of that relationship. So all that to say, like, there has to be a level of like showing up for your partner, being there, showing love, giving flowers, doing the things you're going to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. Yeah, spreading lies and deceit.
Manipulate the fuck out of them. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Craft the narrative and the stories, indeed.
Craft a narrative. Oh my God.
You are the author of your relationship.
Exactly. But yeah, that's a super important, and it's hard to do. You don't realize that is something that you have to do when you're in a long-term relationship. You just assume that when I'm angry, I'm angry.
Yeah.
And I get to just be angry. And it's like, sure, of course, you're allowed to be angry, but that's your partner. You still need to show them love and care and respect and all those things that I've already said. That's still integral, because the moment that you stop doing that, the foundation becomes shaky. It starts to crumble. It starts to erode.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's we're a little bit too entitled in our expression.
Yes, totally.
Especially with our partners. Like,
1,000.
you get the full brunt of everything. And it's not like maybe on some level we do need to be taught how to create this type of duality in a relationship. But intrinsically we kind of understand it.
Totally.
Like I said, we have lifelong friends that we fight with that isn't so destructive, because you can be angry as angry can be.
Right.
And you're not going to project that onto them in the way that you would do that with a partner.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So they say that friendship is very important in relationships, and maybe that aspect of friendship is something that we're not like missing. We're getting like the connection and the closeness and the tomfoolery. But I lie to my friends all the fucking time.
Oh my gosh.
All the fucking time.
Straight to their
face.
faces.
There's a lot of things I don't tell you because I don't
Right.
think it's like necessary.
Yeah.
And like if it is necessary, then I'll tell you, but I tell you in a way that is more productive than not.
Right. Right.
And I think we're failing at that because like, nah,
Yeah.
that's my partner.
Right.
Just gonna let it all
You're
hang
in.
out.
Right.
That's what it is. And
Right.
it's like, no, this is a game. This is pretend.
Yeah.
We're playing at being together. And in the play, you can't drop the script all of a sudden just because I messed up a line.
Yeah.
You have to play your part
Yeah.
if you choose to be in a relationship.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear you on that. I'm hesitant with the play your part.
Yeah, the
And
words.
analogy.
I know. I'm just, the moment I said that, I knew how
Yeah.
your association would be because you just hate those words.
I do.
But you understand the essence of what
I
I'm
know
trying
what
to
you're
describe.
saying.
So
Right.
it's all good and dandy. That's it. Lie to your partner more. That's all I have to say about it. Lie to your partner
Lie.
more. Lie.
Deceit, craft a
Deceit,
narrative.
Indeed. Do what you have to do.
That's hilarious.
That's the episode. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, then with that, I guess you guys, if you want to hear more hot takes from us, like lying to your partner is A-okay. I would go ahead and
It's
follow.
okay.
Woo!
Lie to that bitch.
Lie to that
a
bitch.
lot.
Yeah. As much as you can.
Every conceivable possibility, every possibility, every chance you can. Lie to her.
Lie.
Oh my
Damn.
goodness.
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, all that good
Absolutely.
stuff. Oh my gosh.
Because at the end of the day, I'm Jem.
And I'm Renee.
And we're the Intellectuals signing off. Until next time.
Bye.